Hey everyone, it's Mark Hespin, host of On the Mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Back for a Wednesday YouTube video here midweek leading on up to the show this weekend, which you can listen every Saturday morning on News Talk 1070 KHMO. Follow the show On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter/X, Instagram, and here on YouTube. Like and subscribe. All just at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. Today's video, I want to get right to the point with today's video. What the Chicago Bears must do when evaluating Justin Fields versus drafting a quarterback, aka Caleb Williams, number one with the number one overall pick. I'm hearing so much discord about Caleb versus Justin this, Caleb versus Justin that. Justin holds onto the ball too long. Caleb, though, he's electric, but he kind of goes for the big play. Look at some of the bad interceptions he threw versus Notre Dame. I want to simplify it for everyone, right? Ryan Poles, the general manager of the Chicago Bears, put Bears fans in this absolute twister. We are in the big one here. I feel like Bill Paxton, and I'm going to undo my belt and hold on for dear life because this would have been really clean and really simple and really clear. If the Chicago Bears had moved on from Matt Eberflus and gone and got Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson or Jim Harbaugh or any new coach, right, offensive or defensive, I would have been a huge proponent of, it's obvious, start your quarterback and your coach at the same time frame, build that relationship together, right? But because the Bears are once again bringing back a coach into what feels like almost like it could be a lame duck year, and the possibility of drafting a new quarterback like they did with Trubisky and Fox, like they did then with Nagy and Fields, it's a really kind of dangerous, repetitive cycle that Chicago Bears fans are in. Ryan Poles put us in this spot by bringing back Matt Eberflus, right? So it's created this huge amount of tension about the fan base. So I want to settle this all down and tell you exactly how the Bears need to approach this. By my calculation, there are 7 teams that need a quarterback in the NFL. Seattle, Washington, Denver, Atlanta, New England, the Raiders, and the Vikings. Now, you can throw the Giants in there as well, make it 8, but they at least have Daniel Jones. I want you to think clearly, Bears fans, with this scenario. And anyone who's got a strong opinion on Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams, forget about all of that and just think really clearly. If the Chicago Bears did not have the number one pick and they just were picking 9 overall, would they be on the need a QB list? Probably not. I don't think the majority of the media would put the Bears on the need a QB list. If the Bears only had the number 9 overall pick, would the mock drafts be saying, oh, they're going to trade up and go get Caleb Williams? Would the mock drafts be saying, oh, they're going to reach for J.J. McCarthy at number 9 and move on from Justin Fields? No. The mocks would be saying exactly what they're saying. They would take the best player available on the board, probably a number 2 wide receiver to go with DJ Moore, or they would be taking, an edge rusher to pair with Montez Sweat. Maybe an offensive lineman to move and just add talent to the offensive line. The Bears would not be on the need a quarterback list. That being said, so we can establish that, right? The Bears would not be drafting a quarterback at number 9 if they didn't have number 1 overall. The whole thing would be build around Justin. You have 2 more years of cost control, Justin. Year 4, year 5, pick up the 5th-year option. And then even that, you could franchise tag him. You don't have to give him a long-term deal for another 3 years. You could watch him play. So build around him. Keep adding to this team. Hey, you won some games down the stretch. Build that momentum. So having said that, the number 1 overall pick is an absolute luxury. It's a huge luxury. And so what Ryan Poles must do, this is what Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears front office must do when evaluating the number 1 overall pick. You ready for it? They have to think of it as if they don't have the number 1 pick. Look at every one of those quarterbacks and every one of the draft prospects. Marvin Harrison Jr. Look at Caleb Williams. Look at Drake May. Look at them all. And just say to yourself, would we trade up to number 1 to go get one of these guys? And what price would we pay to go get one of those guys? And if the price you would pay, which would be huge, and you're that convicted, if the Bears look at the Caleb Williams film, they interview Caleb Williams, and they say to themselves, oh my God, we're at number 9. We don't have the number 1 overall pick. We need to go trade for Caleb Williams. well, then you do it. Then you just draft him because it's a luxury. You don't have to make the trade. You don't have to make the trade. But if you go through that evaluation process and you say to yourself, man, I like the guy, but I'm not trading up to go get him. I'm not giving up the assets and the value. I'm not trading up from 9-1 to go get him. Then you stay right where you are and you don't overdo it. You keep Justin Fields. You trade the number 1 overall pick for whatever big deal you can get out there. If there is a team willing to offer you what you're not willing to offer to go get Caleb Williams, does that make sense? There's a team that is willing to make the offer, multiple first-round picks, or a first-round pick this year, next year, and a star player, a deal you're not willing to make if you were just at number 9, then you take that and you move on and you build around Justin Fields. If the answer to the question is, when you evaluate these prospects, that you would trade heaven and earth to go to number 1 to go get Caleb Williams, go get Drake Maye, whoever your guy is, well, then you draft him. You absolutely draft him. But Ryan Poles, this is up to you. The Chicago Bears need to look at this situation like they do not have the number 1 overall pick. And if when you're done with the evaluation of the talent and the interviews and everything, you and your building would all look around and go to yourself, oh my God, Eberflus, Poles, Kevin Warren, we're all on the same page, and we would trade heaven and earth to go get Caleb Williams, then you just pick Caleb Williams. But if at the end of the evaluation process, you say to yourself, I don't think we would trade everything it would take to go get Caleb Williams. I'm not that convicted on the guy. Well, then you answer the phones, see if someone's out there willing to pay you what you wouldn't give up to go get Caleb Williams, and you take that trade. You build around Justin Fields 3 more years before you'd have to give him to a long-term contract. I hate all these people saying you have to sign Justin Fields. You pay Kurt Warner, I think, said you have to pay him $50 million a year. That is insane. It's insane. Even if Justin Fields' camp was like, we want a long-term extension, they have no ground to stand on right now for anything more than $80, $90 million guaranteed over 4 or 5 years, which would pennies in the quarterback market. So think of it in 2 ways when you're evaluating the Bears, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams. Number 1 thing, would the Bears be on the need a QB list if they didn't have the number 1 overall pick? Absolutely not. The obvious consensus around Bears fans and fandom would be, Justin showed some spark. All right, they're running it back with Eberflus. Let's run it back with Justin. Let's build this thing. That's number 1. And number 2 is pretend the Bears don't have the number 1 overall pick. If you're Ryan Poles, if you're Kevin Warren, if you're Matt Eberflus, you're in that building, you're an important decision maker. If you are so impressed with Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Marvin Harrison Jr., whoever it is, that you would pay whatever it took to go trade up to go get Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Drake Maye, whoever it is, then you draft him because you're that impressed by him. If you're willing to give what the Panthers gave you, well, then you just take him. But if you're not willing to give that, if you go through the process and you say to yourself, man, I would not trade what the Panthers traded to go from 9-1. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give up this year's first, next year's first, and a star player. Insert, for the Bears, it'd be someone like, Darnell Wright to go get Caleb Williams. Wouldn't do it. Well, if that's the answer, then you don't draft Caleb Williams. You take that package, whatever package is given to you, the best one from whatever team wants to move up, and you continue to build your team like you never had the number 1 overall pick anyways. That is exactly how the Chicago Bears need to handle this process. Now, that is not me telling you I like Caleb or Justin more than the other. I'm just telling you how this process needs to be evaluated by Ryan Poles and his team. It has to be evaluated like that. If you evaluate the process like that, you'll have clarity in the organization, you'll have an understanding, and you can make the right decision. If you're just trying to compare Fields and Williams, then what are we doing here? It makes no sense. That's not how the number 1 overall pick should be evaluated. You have to evaluate it like this is an absolute bonus. It's a treasure chest. And in that way, if you fall in love with a player and you'd be willing to move heaven and earth to go get him, then take that player number 1. If you don't love anyone enough at number 1 to trade heaven and earth to go get them, then you trade the pick and you get all the assets you can for the pick. That's how this process needs to happen. Now, whether I like Justin or Caleb more and who I would pick, that's another video, another argument for another day. This is about how the Bears have to evaluate Justin Fields and the number 1 overall pick debate that they're in. Tune on in every Saturday morning on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app. Follow me on all social media at Mark Hesman. See you Saturday.